Yeah,
once
you,
you
you
miss.
you can appeal, but you have to convince them that what made you not be there is something very, very conk. Like it has to be very, very conk reason for you to like get a reprimand or maybe just a warning.
It can be mpango ilitokea and then ukaenda kuona mabeste.
Hiyo sasa yote sasa utaekwa hata 4 years.
And now go to something that's rather uncomfortable. Back in 2017, the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya suspended you and your coach Duncan Ayemba for 14 months and 2 years respectively for administration of a banned substance alongside 12 other athletes. Now, in the last couple of years, doping has become a big issue in Kenyan athletics. More recently, in June, your teammate in the 4x1 relay, Samuel Imeta, alongside several other athletes, were also handed suspensions by the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya. Now, Omanyala, please talk to us about how you ended up in this situation and what it is that athletes and maybe the public need to know about the issue of doping that's affecting Kenyan athletes, because it's quite confusing. Omanyala.
Yeah, so I'll start with myself. In 2017, it was in June,
Yes.
just before the national championships, and we were training at Nyayo Stadium, and I had my back snapped at some point during the block sessions, and I assumed that, and then continued training. So the second time, it was a bad snap, like the bone stand,
Ooh.
So there was so much pain. So we decided to stop the training there and go for physiotherapy. So we got this physiotherapy. The guy tried to like do some of what they always do, crack my back and all that stuff. So after that, went back to the hostel. I was in the hostels that time. So got back to the hostels and took a nap. But the time I was waking up, the whole left leg was numb. So I couldn't feel my leg. And I called my coach and told him, hey, hapa ni noma. So my coach, we had to look for a hospital. Kenda Hosi were looking to do a scan, but we got there. The doctor said, we don't need a scan for this. And I have a medication that will help because it's severe and all that stuff. So he injected me a Diprofos painkiller on this side and tramadol on the other side. So getting to the national champs, I get tested and the results come back positive. So the medication had a banned substance in it, betamethasone. So that was the banned substance in the medication. The medication is called Diprofos. So I was banned for 14 months because I did not declare that I was injured a week before. So that was negligence on my part. So that's why I was banned for the 14 months. So that was the story. And I understand, yeah, there's a lot of doping issues in the country, of which, I really don't know what's going on. But there's that intentional and unintentional part. You find like my case was unintentional. You don't know you don't know about medications. You don't know which one should you take or not. So that's the part where the doctor needs to like understand it very, very well. That this kind of medication, like huwezi tu bemeza dawa ya homa right now because flu and cough medications have banned substances, most of them. Not all, but most of them have banned substances. So you have to be very careful. As an athlete, you have to like, because for me now, right now, I have my own personal doctor who, anything happens to me, I don't just walk into a hospital and get treated. I have to call him and make sure that he approves of some medication, or maybe if it's that bad, he comes to me directly and we go and get treated in the hospital. So that's what we have to do. Sometimes, like Mike said, you get into a chemist, buy meat or buy pork, and that animal was injected before it died, some enhancers or steroids, and then you end up getting a positive test when you eat that meat. So it's a wide topic, which I understand the federation and the World Anti-Doping, World Athletics Integrity Unit are working so hard to educate people. And now we are having the situation where people are being banned because of whereabouts failure. Whereabouts failure is we have an account as professional athletes that we fill our accounts every day, so that you tell them where you are at what time and what time should they come and test you, and that's done randomly. So we just feel that it's always in quarters, in 4 quarters every year. So like for next quarter, which starts in October, we have already filled it, so that you just tell this guy, you update in that account that you're going to be at home. So my window is always like at 5 a.m. in the morning. So I always make sure that at 5 a.m. I am where I said I will be, so that when these guys come, they don't miss you. So if you miss these my guys miss you for 3 times in a year, you are banned for 2 years. So that's another thing that is really affecting people. And it's a platform that is not easy to just understand, because you find some athletes are not well educated. So it's hard for them to understand how to use such platforms. So maybe use a computer or use a smartphone. So another person is filling their whereabouts for them. So sometimes you might, an emergency comes up. You say, I want to go and see my mom, or my mom is sick, or my dad is sick, and you take a flight, or maybe you take your car, or maybe you take a matatu, and then you fail to tell the person updating your account that nimeenda kuona madhe, so tomorrow I won't be here, I'll be the next place. So this guy forgets to update your account, and then this guy is in a span of that moment that you're just moving, these guys come and they don't find you in your house. That's a mistest.
Wow.
And if you do that 3 times in a year, you are out for 2 years. So that's another thing that it's really putting athletes into that situation, which is they're just falling victim of circumstances. But it's our own responsibility to always know that you're a professional athlete and you need to update all that.
So is that thing is it appealable? Like for instance, the one you just talked about, the whereabouts failure, is that something that's appealable, or once they've decided,
you can appeal, but you have to convince them that what made you not be there is something very, very conk. Like it has to be very, very conk reason for you to like get a reprimand or maybe just a warning.
It can be mpango ilitokea and then ukaenda kuona mabeste.
Hiyo sasa yote sasa utaekwa hata 4 years.
So hii story ya doping is very interesting. Kuna nani Marco Tieno, who I think as you are coming up, you either found him in the sprints and you guys have trained together, and so he was banned I think 2 years ago, and he's just come out of it. So kwa kesi kama yake yeye alipewa I think 2 years. But in certain other cases, and I think even for some offenses, I think it's cannabis. For cannabis, Kenya nimeona wanabana watu for 4 years. So is it that Kenya is very, what's the right word? They are very, the punishment that they give is higher than what the other bodies are giving, or as an athlete, how do you look at it? From as someone who has gone through that process,
all these judges have gone through sports law and they understand what they're doing, so I can't question or have any comments on that. But international athletes their cases are always handled by the Court of Arbitration of Sports. So all these cases, whether it's Kenya, it's the US, it's once you have a problem with your samples, your case is handled by that court. So all this punishment you're seeing, most of them, of the international athletes, are being given by the Arbitration of Sports, the Court of Arbitration of Sports. So there's also the Sports Tribunal in Kenya, which handles the national athletes mostly. And that's where my case was handled, of which it's always about how are you arguing your cases, because you might find a lawyer who doesn't really have the facts and then he cannot really convince the judges, that the jury there, that this guy got this situation because of the reasons he might be given might not be
correct
reasons that will make the judges really give you a lesser punishment. So sometimes it ends up in getting those and I don't think there's because there's always, when you go to those pages, there's once you're caught, like you get a positive test today, and then tomorrow you say I accept everything, there's always a specific amount of years that you're given. So let's say for contamination, you get 4 years. For EPO, you get 8 years. So it's standard. So
Yes.
unless you
Eish.
argue your case,
Wow.
unless you argue your case so well, there's no way that is going to be reduced. So it's going to be that standard. So if you argue your case so well, you get people getting months, like getting even the whereabout failure. The guys have had to be caught in that situation.
Correct.
Some of them have given their argument. Some get 3 months, some get 6 months. But the bottom line for that is 2 years. So it depends on how you argue your cases.
Wow.